New reaction. Former President Obama speaking out for the first time about that racist video posted, then deleted, to President Trump's Truth Social account, which depicted the Obamas as apes. Obama agreed with those who called the video a distraction, but says it also points to a deeper problem in our politics.
There's this sort of clown show that's happening in social media and on television. And what is true is that there doesn't seem to be any shame about this among people who used to feel like you had to have some sort of decorum and a sense of propriety and respect for the office.
With me now, Don Calloway, former Missouri State Representative and CEO of Pine Street Strategies, along with Democratic strategist Jenna Arnold and Republican strategist and MS Now political analyst Susan Del Percio. Welcome, guys. Good to see you again this weekend. So is that what it really boils down to, a lack of decency and respect? And how do we, as a country, get that back?
It's always great to hear from former President Obama because he has this knack for making us raise our eyes to some higher principles. And that's what he does right here. He's exactly right. Of course, it's easily to point out the disturbing and violent racism and sexism and most of the things that come not only from this president, but from the MAGA ideology. But the reality is that this time in our politics has degraded the value of public service, such that we no longer are living in a world where we see the presidency as having the prestige and the valor and the nobility that it once did. And that's unfortunate because that will permeate our entire politics. And I think that's what former President Obama is talking about. When you lose shame and when you allow yourself and leaders to behave in these abhorrent fashions, what it ultimately does is degrades the entire nobility of the universe of public service. And it becomes this clown show. So, that's where we are, and there's a real danger from the policy that flows from a clown show mentality.
So, Jenna, President Obama also had some advice for his fellow Democrats, which includes both unity and some healthy debate. Take a listen.
They're doing such crazy stuff that it shouldn't be hard for our side to coalesce around the areas where we agree on and focus on that. And I think that that is going to happen. If we are effective in winning the midterms, if we then have a robust primary for who's going to be the next Democratic president, we shouldn't be afraid of having a robust debate.
So how do Democrats find this balance of less internal fighting while having robust debates to make it overall stronger?
A quick response to that question, Alex. I actually think the Democrats have been more aligned now than ever around our value. And I love the choice of words that Don selected when he referenced Obama's call to a shared nobility. And I have to say, it is shocking to me that in a conversation, that same conversation that you're clipping right now, where Obama confirmed that there are aliens, his words, not mine, that you would think in that kind of statement from a former president of the United States, arguably the most unifying headline in human history, that our divisions and our pettiness toward each other could instantly dissolve. And it doesn't seem like there is anything that we can do to be as noble to our humanity as we could and should be in the shadows of a statement like that. And it's not a reflection of our democratic values. It's a reflection of how we see ourselves as a collective humanity. And I think there's such an opportunity here. And I'd like to center that idea of noble coming togetherness that Don started out with.
Yeah, no, very good point. Although I would say I would love to have that conversation in detail. Okay, you guys, what do you think of that? But I'm going to move on this to you, Susan. Because of the decade-long stronghold that President Trump has on Republicans, are they completely missing out on robust internal debates? Or is it a beginning now as they do see a future beyond Trump?
Well, there may be debates within Republican circles, but they're kept very close to the vest because there is no room to debate with Donald Trump or his administration for Republicans. Are they starting to break? I don't think they're going to break with Donald Trump, but they're starting to realize there is, as you just said, a time after Donald Trump. We even saw that with Marco Rubio's speech overseas yesterday. He was a lot more inclusive with Europe than Vance was, Vice President Vance was the year before. So there is some room, but right now, I think the reason why Republicans, some are willing to speak up is because the president's poll numbers are so bad, and that they have to take the chances to separate with the president if they're from swing districts wherever they can.
So, Dawn, there is a robust primary, as Obama put it, just days away. Early voting begins Tuesday in the Texas primaries, including that closely watched Democratic Senate primary. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett and State Representative James Tallarico are battling it out. One piece in the Texas Tribune argues black voters could prove decisive, making up a fifth of likely Democratic primary voters in Texas. Do you agree with that? And where do you think the contest stands right now?
Well, full disclaimer and disclosure, Jasmine Crockett is a friend of mine. We grew up together in St. Louis, so I'll try to give you the most unbiased perspective that I can here. Black voters will absolutely be determinative in a Texas primary. And if Jasmine Crockett can harness them for this election, I think she has a very good shot to defeat James Tallarico. It's not an end-of-game situation for James Tallarico by any stretch of the imagination, because he's a young man with an extraordinary bright career in Texas politics ahead of him. But I think it's important that Jasmine Crockett shows what she can do, and not only beats James Tallarico this week, but shows that she has driven black votes out of suburban Houston, suburban Dallas, the growing black population in San Antonio, because she's got to find a way to maintain keeping them engaged until November. And that's a very long runway. But if she can show that she got out that educated black population, it's going to be their jobs for the next 6 months to keep that energy into lower income populations who don't vote with the frequency to have them out in November. I think she's probably the best candidate to beat a Republican if Texas is going to go blue in the Senate.
So this administration is very focused on what they call election security. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem suggested her department has a major role in that during a news conference promoting the passage of a national voter ID law. She said this. Listen up.
I would say that many people believe that it may be one of the most important things that we need to make sure we trust is reliable, and that when it gets to election day that we've been proactive to make sure that we have the right people voting, electing the